Okay, I welcome you all with love to Cousens Commentary. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, so we're going to skipping the dance and get really to the topic. And the topic is a classic because what goes on in today's world is a certain confusion about what's real and how to respond to that. So let me explain what I mean. There's a true story, the best we know, that happened at the time of the Maccabees. And they're the ones that defeated the Greco-Romans, okay, in Israel. And I didn't live far from the place where this happened, actually. Now I do, but... so what happened is that on Shabbat, the Greeks broke into one of the Maccabees' camps because they were fighting against the Greeks. And it was on Shabbat, and so everybody believed you're not supposed to be active on Shabbat or fight or do anything. So they all just sat in prayer and they were all slaughtered. Now, the leaders of the Maccabees, like the 5 brothers, when they heard about this, they said, that's a real mistake. You have a biblical requirement to preserve life. And furthermore, you have a biblical requirement to preserve your life. And the teaching is someone's going to come up to kill you. It's your responsibility to get up and fight back and stop them first. Now, those people, they all were slaughtered because they just felt it was Shabbat, you shouldn't do that. But the teaching is, even if it's on the holiest day of the year, you still have an obligation, even above that, is to preserve your life. So, when we look at the situation in Iran, there's a lot of energy in U.S., there's some energy where people say, well, we really shouldn't be fighting this war and so forth. And then you have people like Marco Rubio and obviously Trump who are saying, well, you know, if they develop a nuclear weapon, everybody's life is at risk because they would have no hesitation whatsoever in using it, which, as far as I can tell, is true. Now, the closest any of their missiles have come to my house where I live is about 15 minutes away from where I live. So it's not like it's unreality to think about this, or that there was an October 7th, and that really did happen, and 1,200 people were killed, and many were taken into captivity. So there's nothing new about that. But even, I just heard about this, even the other day in Judea and Samaria, there was an attack, and the Israeli soldiers didn't really fight back because the judiciary is saying you're not supposed to do certain things unless you have permission, and this is a surprise attack. So many, so some of the soldiers were killed, and a weapon was stolen, and then they were able to found it. But what I'm trying to say is that then there was an 11-year-old boy who did not get killed, but he said, look, they're shooting at you, shoot back. And there's so many complications in the way that the judiciary has been working here in Israel, as also not too different than the Supreme Court in the United States, where people get so involved that they can't see, hey, they're shooting at you, you need to get out of the way and you need to protect yourself. Okay. So these are the kind of issues that many of us are facing. And, Trump's getting a lot of, a certain amount of criticism, but then he has people like Marco Rubio, who's very, very smart, very, he gets it. It's like, no, because if they get this weapon, it's going to come to the U.S. So we have a right to defend ourselves for things that may happen in the future. So this whole issue, if someone's coming to kill you, you have a spiritual but also moral obligation to resist, to fight back, to defend yourself. And this is essentially a dilemma, I'm going to say, more for people, on the right and the left, about how are we handling these situations. Do we just simply allow ourselves to be killed? Do we fight back? What's the holy thing to do? What's the spiritual thing to do? So these are kind of questions that are being raised at this moment. And my feeling is that the spiritual thing to do, according to Torah teachings and I'm saying other scriptural teachings, including the Vedas, is you have an obligation to fight back and to preserve your life and the life of your family and those around you. And so that's how I'm coming down on that side of it, which has a great deal of historical validation as we look back through time and space, and to events in history and the importance of being able to defend yourself and your family and your community and ultimately your society. Now, there are different issues going on, and one of the issues could be, when we think about it, is energies to undermine the Western civilization. So we have to kind of look at the multi-factors that are involved in what's going on in the world today and the multi-influences that are coming our way. And I'm, in this broadcast, coming down on, what the ancient teachings are, that you have an obligation to protect the life of yourself and the life of your family when you are attacked. Now, the question is that with prospective attack? In my interpretation, and I'll say my interpretation, like Marco Rubio's interpretation, which I think President Trump's interpretation will eventually be, is no, preventive action is what you need here. That's why, as a holistic physician, we act preventatively to prevent a disease from happening rather than try to treat the disease once it happens. So this is all, in a sense, a holistic approach where you're focused on prevention and protection, like, as they say, the Maccabees understood, I think it was in 69 AD, that you have to do this to protect your world, your society, your family, and your life. So I leave you with that thought. None of it's that easy, and I understand that. But at the same time, it's what we're facing today. So I'm taking the ancient position of the Maccabees in terms of you have an obligation to protect life, starting with your life of your family, and life of your community. So with that in mind, peace be with you. And I want to thank Doug Diamond behind the scene here who helped set this whole thing up. So again, peace be with you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh, Vatakiwasan. Aho.